Chuck Garcia.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rusty. 93 out of 100. In other words, 93%. 1 out of 100. In other words, 1%. What I'm opening with is a Greek rhetorical technique that I teach my students for a concept known as heightening the contrasts. Anytime you have an idea and you want to drive that idea home, one of the ways to do it is to heighten the contrast. Two opposites, north-south, east-west, 93 and 1. But in order to put into context the concept that I'm discussing today, Steve, I'm going to take something out of your playbook. I'm going to ask each of you to take a pen, write onto your notebook, 1, 2, 3. Let's get to number 1. Number 1, I'm going to ask you to write a foreign language that you had in class in either high school or college. Number 2, and the answer here is one word for this one. I'd like you to write how you felt when you were inside the class for that language. Number 3, and this requires a yes or a no. There is no other answer. Are you using that language that you learned from high school or college in your career today? Now, show of hands. As for the first one, how many of you took a foreign language in high school or college? Great. Number 2, I'd like a shout out here. How did you feel? Lost. Hold on. 1, lost. 2. Okay, you felt great. 3. Painful. 4, what was that? Ronit? Confused. So lost. I did hear a few greats. I heard confused and painful. Thank you. Let me put into context what it is I am talking about. I, like you, live 2 lives. I am the very proud parent of 4 children. 3 of them have graduated from college, and 1 of them is about to graduate from college. And for all of those years in high school, I loved coming home from the city because I sat at the dinner table with my children. And the first question is, what'd you learn in school today? And my history buff occasionally would say, I don't know, Dad. I learned something about a guy named Suleiman and the Ottoman Empire, and I think it's Turkey. I don't know. Okay, that's good enough. But one of my children, her name is Gabby. She was my 4th. And I'm bilingual, so I'm particularly sensitive to foreign language instruction. And I asked Gabby, what'd you learn in school today? She said, nothing. Okay. Let me pose it another way. Gabby, what did you do? I stopped asking what you learned. What did you do in Spanish class today? And the answer puzzled me. She said, what we did yesterday. Okay, what'd you do yesterday? The same thing we did last week. Genius said, I'm beginning to get a pattern here. What she was talking about, Dad, in this class in Spanish, we are doing the same thing all the time. Sophomore year resembled freshman year. Junior year resembled sophomore year. We just never seem to move the dial. It's just the same thing all the time. And the worst part, Dad, I am surrounded by everyone in my class who hasn't the slightest desire to be there or to learn the language. Okay. Now, go to my other life. In my other life, I teach college at the undergraduate level. The average age of my students is 20. I teach engineers at the graduate level in communication skills, average age 28. And I'm an executive coach to 5 financial institutions right now, average age 47. And when I got to know them, I often asked them, tell me what you felt about foreign language instruction. And the answers were lost, confused, and painful. So I said, we're onto something here. What is going on here? Well, I am not here to bury foreign language instruction. To the contrary, I'm here to praise it. But I'm here to offer another viable alternative. Because the numbers that I opened with today, 93% and 1%, you just supported the very notion. 93% of all U.S. high schools since 2008 offered foreign language instruction. Here's the punchline. Only 1% of Americans can claim fluency in a foreign language from a class that they learned in high school and college. Look at the gap. That gap makes no practical or economic sense. It is safe to conclude that foreign language instruction in the United States is a dismal failure. But what's the alternative? The alternative was born out of what I refer to myself as my experience, and the experiences that I give is the name that I give to my mistakes. And it happened on a fateful day in my career at Bloomberg in New York, where I gave a speech just like this. And after the speech, there was some questions, and the cameras started to roll. And the questions came at me. And I was stymied and blindsided. I bumbled along embarrassingly in what seemed like a press conference, and I couldn't believe what a horrible job I've done. And somebody had said to me, "Wow, you did a really good job." And I said, "No, it was a horrible job." And what they said to me is, "Yeah, but it was better than anyone else." And I said, "Well, that's pathetic. That's a terrible standard I'm going to hold myself to. I don't have to be good at it. I just have to be better than everybody else." No, we're not going to do that. So what I did, I went back to the videos and I replayed everything I did. What can I learn from this? And it became obvious to me. And all of the time and the resources that we teach our children foreign languages, we are overlooking the most important language of all. And if I ask you to ask your children to go register for this language, it's not available. And if I ask you if any of you took this foreign language class in high school, you would have said it's not available. What is it I'm talking about? Imagine if you could have taken a class that taught you how to inspire, how to persuade, and how to provoke change. In this language, you would learn how to connect to an audience and how to win friends and influence people. In this class, in the language of leading, you would learn about nonverbal communication, executive presence, body language. What if you could only focus on how to speak with purpose and listen with intent? How valuable would it have been for you when you were in high school and you were going to go interview to the college that you needed to now speak and listen? But more important to your children, for all of the huge investment that you're putting into college, wouldn't your children have benefited instead, or perhaps in addition to the foreign language, take this course called the language of leading? And it would prepare them intently to nail the interview in addition to when they're in college and it's time to interview for the internships that have become so critical, they would do a great job. They would nail it and they would be better off than anyone who didn't have it, because I've seen the difference in my students and my clients. This foreign language is available, and I teach it. But I'm not here to talk about the language. There is a call to action here, and there's two. First call to action, let's make the language of leading part of the regular U.S. foreign language curriculum. And this is not leadership. Leadership is about studying what happened. We already know what happened. We read it. I'm talking about a language that describes the reality that you were creating. I coach people to speak in such a way to create a future. Their job is to inspire people to something that hasn't happened yet. That's the language of leading. I am proud to be the guide to lead us up this mountain. And I am grateful for you for your help and support for joining me in this. It is possible, it exists, it is real, and it is beneficial. It is Margaret Mead, the great anthropologist, who said, "Never doubt that a small, thoughtful, committed group of citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that has." I'm not asking to change the world. I am asking to change a small piece of it, not for the benefit of us necessarily, although we could all use this, but for the benefit of our children and the benefit of our children's children. So here we are. We have a choice. One of those is to maintain the status quo. That's hardly a choice. What I hope that we do instead is you join me in climbing this mountain called the language of leading. To all of you, to having sat here for 10 hours, I am so grateful that you waited, and I appreciate your patience. And to Advantage Media, I am so grateful for your support, for everything you've done for me. What? Our takeaway here. We owe our children something better than the status quo. They deserve it. They have earned it. We need to start thinking differently about how it is we're going to prepare them for high school, college, and their career, and it begins with us. Thank you very much.